Recording in progress.
Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Season 2, Episode 3, Ambitious Minds.
Is this only episode 3?
I think so. Yeah, because last week was,
Yeah,
because every other week.
man.
It is kind of weird.
If
Our
it
off
feels,
weeks are weird.
yeah, it feels like it's been like 4 or 5. But we've been talking a whole lot more, so that's
True. We still talk every week.
exactly.
Good stuff.
Uh, Happy Black History Month. Black History Month started 2 days ago.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Oh, man. What's new, man? How's life?
Life is good, man. We're enjoying this beautiful winter wonderland. Unfortunately,
Mm-hmm.
uh,
You guys
I don't
got
know.
hit pretty hard, didn't you?
Yeah, it is. See, I'm bad with this inches stuff. Being like, oh, we have about 6 inches. I think I said that to somebody today, and I was like, that's what it looked like to me. It looked like half of a ruler. So that's what we're gonna roll with. So, um,
Uh,
but um, but yeah, I mean, honestly, it's not too bad. I was talking to one of the other distributors last night, and I told him, I said, it's super weird because I feel like we've had worse. I know people are freaking out because we haven't had, like, last winter wasn't like this at all.
mm-hmm.
But I feel like we've had worse. And
Oh,
I was like,
yeah.
maybe it's just me, but, like, driving. Of course, I had to drive slower, but it wasn't nothing, crazy.
And like up until now, it's been pretty mild anyway. We've got nothing up here.
You said
Once
nothing.
it, yeah, not really. Well, I mean, we have snow still, but it's not like we got any storms or anything. It's not bad
Oh,
for
you know
once.
what? That's interesting though, because my cousin didn't get any yesterday either.
Yeah,
Yeah.
man. Cool. So, topic today, communication. Tell me
Yep.
about it. What are you thinking?
Communication. Man, there's so many different things we can go, so many different ways we can go about this. So, I mean, we can just
Well, here, let me
over.
let me let me break it down. Let me ask more specific.
Yeah.
Like, what does communication look like in your industry and what you're doing? And like, what does effective communication look like?
Oh man. So funny enough, I know I told you about this morning. We had a leadership webinar call, however you want to put it, leadership training uh, that talked about communication and culture, right, and how important it is. And communication right now, I would say, is still being worked on. Um, in our industry, in our even our specific franchise. Um, I think it's just more so because of you're trying to figure out what's the best ways to communicate, right? Like, I'm a huge emailer. I'll send out emails all day, bro.
Mhm.
I'll do phone calls every now and then, but, like, depending on who I'm calling, I know they're in the middle of doing something, so that part is a little hard for me. But
Yeah.
um, but one of the things that the guy brought up, he mentioned that communication is a process. It's not a one stop shop, right? And I know right now, one thing I've been working on with my district is right now it's a one stop shop. So a lot of times I'll send out an email, right, but I won't do any follow up on the email,
Hmm.
right? So it's like, all right, cool. So I just have that one thing, but I don't have anything else for it. And then, our core values. That was something that we talked about too. Because our core values, everybody has it printed out, probably in like 3 or 4 different spots of the stores, right? Don't nobody know them, though,
Mm.
right? And
Yep.
so it's like, are we really communicating or are we just posting,
Right.
right? Um, and then, man, like, even breaking it down to how are you communicating, what's actually coming across, things like that, man. So, um, yeah, man, it's definitely in process right now, just as into how we're trying to build this out and trying to make sure that, one, it is effective. I think effective communication for us looks like, um, make sure that it gets down to even the person that only works one day a week,
Hmm.
right? So if it's food costs, make sure that that person that even works one day a week realizes that, hey, we have a major goal when it comes to food costs. We need to make sure that we're portioning correctly, make sure that we're following the recipes, things like that, because it's very we're very quick to, okay, yeah, that one person only covers that one Saturday a week, right?
Right.
It covers Saturday, and Saturday could be when you have the most waste, right? Because you simply didn't communicate this message or the importance or the urgency behind this, because this person only worked one day,
Right.
right? Just make sure that whatever communication, in order for it to be effective, it has to get all the way down and to everybody. So, yeah, man, it's interesting. It's definitely like kind of like the love language stuff too, though. Trying to figure out what kind of
Right.
communication fits best.
Exactly. Because like things like you mentioned the core values, like how do you communicate that to the one person a week? You know what I
Yeah, you
mean?
know what I mean. And it's super hard because I think about when we were at Planet, right? When it was like three people or more, right? You pull out those value cards, and
Hmm.
it's so interesting because I told them, I said, as crazy as it sounds, it is so ingrained though. Like I can say all of them by memory right now. Like it
Hmm.
is so ingrained.
Yep.
Same thing with the tour and the info call script. Like I think it was because it was the process of constantly repeating it. And although sometimes it might have come off annoying, nobody can walk away and say they didn't know.
Exactly.
Right.
True.
I think that's what we forget about communication is if you want to make a piece of communication stick, right? What's that quote says? When you think you've communicated enough, you haven't,
Right.
right? Um, because you want it to stick. You know what I'm saying? I've been going for PF now for 2 years, 2 years, and I have that stuff still memorized, right?
Yep. I was gonna say it's been over a year for me now too, and same thing. I still
So
could
it's
still
just
know.
absolutely crazy how when effective communication working, a lot of people say, is that effective just because you memorize it? I don't know. I would say it has to be because that was the point and I got it.
Right. Well, I think retention goes hand in hand with good communication, right?
Yeah,
If you retain it, then it's been communicated well. So,
I agree. I agree.
yeah.
But what does it look like in the real estate business, or especially, I mean, especially with you guys, because to a certain extent, you guys are all your own separate entrepreneurs, right?
Oh, yeah.
One umbrella, but you're all different entrepreneurs. How do you make sure that communication is effective for what you guys are trying to build as a company?
There's a lot of, I mean, that's pretty much what this job is. That's all we do is communicate, but like you said, like there's so many different ways I could go with it because you have communication with your clients, you have communication with vendors, you have communication with closing companies, you have communication with literally every single moving piece that's in a transaction. uh, our job is to kind of be in the know of where everything is, and that only happens with good communication. And that's kind of the differentiator in this industry is who's successful and who's not could also be boiled down to who communicates well and who doesn't, in my opinion. So yeah, I guess probably the most talked about is communication with a client, right? So I connect with somebody. I had my first touch with somebody. Hey, I'm Brad Fall, local real estate agent. If you're looking to buy or sell, I'd be more than happy to help you. Blah blah. Right. So first touch, but then what? When I have their contact information, what does follow up look like? What does communication look like? And how are you communicating? So there's a lot to break down just in that aspect of communication with clients.
Yeah,
So, you think about your CRM, which is your customer relationship management software. That's what we use to keep track of and kind of manage all of our clients and our touches. So luckily, a lot of those softwares have great follow-up systems built in there that either you can develop or they're already like defaulted into the software that you can use. But it's basically just keeping top of mind. It's like how you have to stay relevant. When people are, can you hear the siren?
yeah,
It's loud. So when people are thinking real estate, how do I make sure and stay top of mind for them that they think of me, right?
yeah.
So uh, that's always the thought process. And even when you are communicating with a client, how are you talking with them? Are you being really pitchy? Are you being very salesy? Or and I think it boils down to what's your intent of the relation, or I'm sorry, what's your intent with the communication with that phone call? For me, and I think with a lot of people in the industry, it's to build a relationship. And I think the relationships drive your business. I mean, it drives your staying top of mind, because it's not just about the transaction, it's about you now. One thing that I was always taught from when I started is you are your business. Me personally, your reputation, what you offer, that's your business. That's what you're selling, is yourself. So if yourself is the product, and when I'm communicating, I want people to know who I am and to be able to trust me, and that's kind of what I want the communication to look around. So it's not always talking about the deal at hand. It's checking in and, how is Sammy, downstate that just moved, it's like, because it's you genuinely want to get to know these people, because then you can better serve them, you can better represent them, and you have a better understanding where they're coming from. So, I mean, I think clients is probably our number one communication, because even communication with lenders and all the other pieces of a transaction, it all circles back around to the client, because that's who needs to know. A lot of times we play like a middleman role. So we have to be effective communicators. So it's just having good processes in place and things like that. So, and I don't know, it's a loaded question. You know what I mean? Like there's so many aspects to it.
Yeah. So a couple of things came up when you were talking. One that you said something that sets um, successful versus, I guess you could call it unsuccessful, is your level of communication.
Yeah.
Would you say for pretty much any company after culture, communication, even though that might be a part of the culture, communication will probably be the next most important thing for a business, whether, we're talking about all aspects, communicating with their teams, communicating with their consumers, any of that. Would you agree with that?
I definitely think so. Because I think a in the know employee, if we're not just talking about real estate industry, but an individual that's in the know for what's going on in their business is a um what's the word, is a I keep wanting to say continent. That's not the word. It's um shoot. Basically, they're competent. That's the word I'm looking for.
Yeah,
They're
okay.
competent in their role, right? So if
Yeah.
you're in the know, then you're competent. You know what you're doing. So I definitely think so. I think it's super important. I think one of the number one topics of discussion in meetings in all of my experience revolves around communication and how can we improve communication in one sort or another, whether we're talking about something specific like a memo, right? What does that boil down to? That falls into the communication category. When we're talking about like you mentioned earlier, like scripts, info call scripts, tour scripts in that industry, it's like, what does that boil into? Communication. It's like, I think almost majority of the most talked about topics revolve around that. And I think it's because it's difficult for a company and industry to be number one and to like really feel like, wow, we've made it. You know what I mean? Because for
Yeah.
one, have you ever really made it? I don't know. That's like that level 5 stuff. I think it's a myth, but it depends. So I think it's always something that's sought after to be improved upon. And I think as technology and industries change, communication has to change with it, and that's why it's forever changing. It's forever adapting. Just wait, dude. Give it a few more years, and it's going to be like, yeah. So our communication looks like in the metaverse. You can get in there and start. You know what I mean? Like, it's just crazy.
Yeah, they're gonna have a COC, chief officer communicator, or a CCO,
CCO.
chief communicator officer. Um, the other part was looking up communication. So definition of communication is the imparting or exchange of information or news, or means of sending or receiving information such as phone lines or computers, things like that, right? And I think the other part that stuck out to me was Ed Milet. He had mentioned you make people feel something, right?
Mhm.
And he said, "Are you aware of it? and are you intentional with it? And I think when a lot of things bubble down, once we read the definition of communication, is realizing the next part of that is when you communicate, you make people feel something,
Right.
right? Are you aware of how you're making people feel? Because I think that's the biggest struggle I've seen with a lot of leaders, including myself at times, is not realizing how what they say or how they look or how they do, because everything that you do communicates something. You know
Right.
what I'm saying? When we're talking, like every now and then, I try to make sure, even when you're talking, that I make sure that I make some type of facial expression or whatever the case may be, because there's a part of it that makes you feel that I'm communicating, that I'm listening, right? That's
Mhm.
where they teach you in class, like you should nod every now and
Right.
then.
Like active listening. Yeah.
Exactly. Even though you probably don't understand the math problem, that's up. It's like keep on,
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, for sure.
keep on
Right.
nodding in there afterwards, but like, hey, you reteach this to me. Um, but I think that's huge, and we forget about that because we just get so into just quote unquote communicating, and we
Right.
forget about the actual feel piece, right? Um, because based off of how you make somebody feel, you can also leverage that as well.
Right.
About leverage, if you make somebody feel that they're important, if you make somebody feel, now hopefully it's genuine, right?
Right.
Make somebody feel that way, I can guarantee you can get a lot more production. You can get a lot more out of that relationship. Um, when you hold this mic like this, when you when you're communicating in a way, and you understand how you make that person feel.
Right. No, I agree. I think even back to, all the small businesses and stuff that we've started, right? We've both been in the, I don't know, like merchandise sales sphere, with Product of Grace and Tree Stand Brews and stuff like that. So even when you have like a small business like that, one of the things that you're always, I would say, like dreading and hoping never happens is like a customer service complaint. But when literally everything starts and ends with you, it's like that's the number one word is communication. It's like, what does that look like? How do you handle conflict? How are you, responding to a customer? I've being in the e-commerce space, even it's like if you're sending a product out and you get a complaint, like how you handle that really defines your business that you're building and the reputation that you're building for yourself. And really taking a step back and not thinking about the P&L, but thinking about reputation and brand building and how can I separate myself using this as an opportunity. It goes back to that raving fan stuff, man. Seriously, like it's not exclusive to one industry or not. Like I think just about everything we've talked about is stuff that can be translated across any industry, really. You just got to mold it in the right way that fits what you're doing.
Yeah, for sure.
And we need to bring that back too, man. I miss being in that space.
What?
Even just like online sales and brand building. And I mean, I still am for
Yeah,
real estate, but I mean like a product, you know what I mean?
yeah. And the thing I enjoyed about both of ours, and more so, I think you had a little more success with this, is the building a brand through building a common bond between people.
Yeah, community driven.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
Right.
Because I think that's what really was able to help yours take off was communication.
Mhm.
But the thing that you were communicating was community, right?
Right.
And so people were bought into just these pictures of people taking pictures from tree stands,
Right.
right?
Exactly.
And now, you know what I'm saying? Like now you become Folgers of tree stands.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? But it all started with a community of people that just simply wanted to take pictures. And so yeah, we should definitely hop back into that. We can do let's do something together. Um but yeah, let's talk about how we can build it off of the community first.
Let's do it. Let's do it with ambitious minds. Shoot, let's do some AM merchandise and we'll get our Discord up and running and really just start this community of entrepreneurs and, like go-getters, and having community-backed projects and stuff like that. And like, how cool would this be? Picture this, right? We've got our Ambitious Minds community. We
Yep.
have people hop on, like, this becomes so much more community driven and based conversation. We get in a Discord server where we can constantly be communicating with people 7 days a week, and vice versa. And our community members can help community members. And man, like, it would be such an awesome thing to just see a community of entrepreneurs talking, problem solving, just somewhere you can go when you're stuck. You know what I mean? And it's like Ambitious Minds, like that's the brand. That's what it is. Rep it out, get some apparel and stuff. We could do like meet and greets and stuff like that. Like,
You talked about that for a long time. Is
yeah, dude.
bring back the in-person Ambitious Minds, renting out a space, and
Yeah,
let few people come together.
like rent out a space in Detroit or something. And
Yeah.
and it's sales that's or generated sales from the merchandise and stuff, a percentage of it will go aside for these meet and greets to pay for the venue and food and stuff like that. And we just keep it going, man. Like, that would be dope.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Right on. Cool. All right, I'm down. We'll finish the Discord this week. We'll get this video uploaded, finish the Discord. See, and I love that too. I love that this is a part of like our actual podcast, because it's like that was our whole intent of doing this, is to show, from thought to process to, starting,
And it is interesting too, because talking about this brought up something that I go over with my leaders all the time. And I said sometimes the hard part about communicating is because when you communicate something, depending on what you're communicating, leads to accountability, right? And so we'll be a fool to not hold ourselves accountable to making some of these things happen that we just mentioned,
right?
But that's also the scary part, right? And I think that's why people either fail at communication or don't communicate at all, right? It's because it sounds cool. I don't know if I really am going to do or I want to do it, right? And so we don't communicate,
right?
And we definitely are in that culture now where it's like, hey, don't tell people your dreams, just do it, right? I get part of that, right? Because there's a lot of dream killers out there, so I get that part 100%.
Yeah.
I think the other part where we're not teaching people is when you do those things in silence. Sometimes it allows you to give yourself too much grace, right? And then things never get done. But then who cares? Because nobody knew.
Right. Exactly.
Now, hopefully, it's painful enough because you knew you were supposed to get it done, right?
Right.
But I think when you put it out there for other people, and it doesn't have to be for the world, right? Because I dislike when people always post on social media, and that's what I love about Time Hop, man. Like there's probably every day I post, things are going to be different. I'm tired of the same old, same old. I'm just like, bro, like, what was I thinking when I was 18, 19, man? Like every day was going to be a new start for me.
Oh, I hear you. See, mine are cringy because it's all me quoting like Kid Cudi lyrics to songs, and I'm just like, dude, no.
It's so weird, but it's also cool to see how much I've grown, as well. So that part is always cool. Or like Cam used to get like so many tags, man. Like I swear, like every day I post like I had the best girlfriend ever. Now I'm so glad that she's my wife now, because imagine how weird that'd be. Like all the stuff would come up on the Time Hop, like whip.
Oh well, I can tell you, it's weird. It is weird. I'm like, oh, we're gonna skip that Time Hop today. Yep. Yeah, we're gonna leave that one in Time Hop. Yep. In fact, let me go back there and I'm just gonna delete this time. I don't want to see this again next year.
But yeah, man.
Funny stuff, man.
It's super cool. So I mean, one, we gotta hold ourselves accountable to doing this stuff now, which is really just getting some stuff down on paper and make stuff happen. But
Yeah.
Do you feel like you see that even in in your circle? I mean, I know I'm including that circle, but either in your circle or just in your office, too, that sometimes people avoid communicating certain things because they don't want to be held accountable to it.
Oh yeah, I see both sides all the time, and I've been on both sides before. And I think that's, kind of like what you were, mentioning earlier, is like you have to have a balance of both. I've seen people uh under promise and over deliver. I've seen people over promise and under deliver. I've seen people talk too much and
Which
then
one is
not.
better?
What's that?
Which one is better?
Personally, I feel like I'd rather uh over deliver, under promise and over deliver than the opposite, because I feel like then there's less letdown. But I do think when you over promise, you're showing your intention. And even though maybe the delivery, was short of that, it doesn't mean it's, the end of the road. You can always continue growing to get to where your original promises were. So I don't know. I'd rather be a part of something that's over delivering than anything else personally. But I think it's, oh, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say so. And I think that's the quick sidebar for us to break down when under promising and over delivering. How
Mhm.
much do you under promise? Do you sandbag it or
um, yeah, I mean, I think it's hard. I think there's a level of sandbagging, and I think it's probably done with the, and I've done this, I get it. Like it's done with the intent of like, oh, this is going to surprise everybody. This is
yeah,
going to be so cool, and then you over deliver. And I don't know, I think it's like a morality boost too.
yeah.
But yeah, I don't know, man. You're right. Cause like if you know you're going to over deliver, how do you not communicate it without sandbagging?
Well, yeah, well, no, and I only ask this because I think, and we've talked about this before. We don't have to talk about it today, but there's a vulnerability piece that's missing in entrepreneurship and leadership.
Hmm.
We're scared to be vulnerable. Of hey, I'm over promising right now.
Right.
Sometimes we know it, right? Um, but and I get this in business because it's hard because really what you really want to do is you do want to under promise over deliver, right? And you want to try not to sandbag it, so you try to come semi close to what you think you really want to do,
Hmm.
right? But I think it's super hard though because I get how loans work, I get how all this other stuff works when you try to do a business, start a business, but man, like there's so much vulnerability that's missed because we're scared to we're scared to fail,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
And so scared to fail, you under promise everything, and then my issue with that is sometimes when you under promise and you just meet that promise,
Hmm.
to me that's just like that's mediocre.
Right.
Especially if
True.
you under promised, right? Versus over promising. Now I say I always tell people like don't be stupid.
Hmm.
Don't be like, oh yeah, you know what I'm saying? We're gonna do $1 million this month. Okay, clearly, you know what I'm saying? If you got one store, you only sold one T-shirt last month.
Right.
I don't know how it's gonna happen.
It's them smart goals, boy.
You know what I mean? Exactly,
Hmm.
but it's not a smart goal.
No.
But it's just like it's like, are you vulnerable enough to be like, hey, all right, we're gonna sell 100 T-shirts this month, right? Knowing realistically, you might only do 75, but you're gonna push hard for
Right.
that, and
Yeah.
you might end up at 98 because I do think we gotta when setting goals, you should leave some stretch room,
Hmm.
right? And chase after that stretch,
Yeah.
but be okay with not hitting it because you knew it was a stretch. I don't know. Like there's so many different ways you go with that. Now I'm getting to a whole different topic, but I say it just came to my mind when talk when you mentioned
Yeah.
under
No, I
promise.
agree. Yeah, because I know we talked about goals a few weeks ago too, but it's a good point. Yeah, and being able and willing to adjust your goals as you're meeting them, and continuing to just be fluid, because that's what business is. It's a fluid thing. But yeah, dude, no, I'm hyped because I mean, like I mentioned to you for listeners now, but we're working on creating a Discord. I don't know what I'm doing. So I need to do some YouTubing.
And if he don't know what he doing, I definitely don't know.
Oh,
I just set mine up last week, and it was like, are you a gamer? Are you a such? I'm like, I'm a regular human being. How do you sign
I'm
up
a
for that?
regular human being.
How do you sign up for how do you set up for that Discord?
Oh shoot, man. Yeah, it's gonna be awesome once we get it done. And I think community there is gonna be huge. But yeah, so like we'll get that done, we'll get things rolling, we'll get a Shopify account going again. It's only like $20 a month. And
I'm still paying for my Shopify. I need to turn it off. Well,
oh
no,
well
I don't think I'm
shoot.
paying.
Yeah, we'll just keep that going then.
I know. I'm pretty sure I still pay for it. I know I still pay for the account that it holds, but yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, dude. No, we'll make this happen, man. It would be awesome. And I think you're right though. It's like uh you need to, for me at least, it's about being realistic with yourself. I'm not going to talk about anything that I don't have full intentions on doing. You know what I'm saying? And like if I'm talking about it with people, then that tells you that I've already done the hard work personally to figure out if it's something I really want to do or not. So, it's good, man. Let's do it.
Cool.
Let's wrap this up so I can get on Discord now and get this thing rolling.
Bet. Well, I'll leave y'all with this. Man, there's so many different directions we could have went in today. When talking about communication, I know this will definitely come up again. But if you don't take anything else from what we said today, remember this: when you communicate, you make people feel something. Even when you're communicating with yourself, you make yourself feel something. The way that you speak, the way that you look at somebody, the way that you sit, the way that you stand, the way that you walk, um, you make people feel something. And so ask yourself the question: are you aware of what you make people feel, and are you being intentional about how you make people feel?
For example, when Eris speaks, he makes me feel happy.
Oh
He
wow!
makes me
Okay,
smile.
and that's a wrap on episode
And
3.
that's all right. All right. See you in a couple weeks. Yeah.
Peace, y'all.
Peace.